Hello and welcome dear audience to the third episode of Smc Comcast, Question Connect. I am Catherine, faculty from the Department of Commerce Shift to Stella Maris College. I am too excited and thrilled for this episode for the reason that we have a youth icon with us. And these days, I don't think the youngsters want to be told what they should or shouldn't do. And a youth icon is one who can lead by example. And our guest today is unquestionably a youngster who has been a pathbreaker in the Indian film industry to have become an IAS officer, besides being a son of a veteran actor, Mr. Chinni Jayant, and he has also secured an All India rank of 75, topping the coveted civil service examination. And I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Srutanjay Narayanan, IAS. Welcome, sir. How are you doing? How do you feel about doing the first podcast with us?
Very, very excited. It's a format that I love. I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I mean, a lot of my time goes to listening to podcasts when I'm free. So I'm really excited about doing this.
Wonderful. All right, sir. So, we work as a team here, and as we were brainstorming within our team as to what we can ask you, one thing that all of us definitely agreed with was, one question was in mind. A
Right.
well known actor, a prominent film actor's son, the typical career choice would have been to become an actor or anything associated with the film industry. But you have been a pathbreaker from the industry to become an IAS officer. What motivated you to take up civil service as a profession?
I think it's because my parents never took conventional choices firstly. So it just starts with that my parents have been great experimenters themselves, just exposing us to various kinds of arts, crafts, people, travel from a very young age. So that's how they've brought us up. So I need to thank my parents. So it starts from there, and from the kind of freedom that they gave, the kind of school that they put me to, Sisha in Chennai. I studied in Chennai, then went to Anna University, and they gave me this. I got this great opportunity to go to Ashoka University to do the Young India Fellowship, and my parents supported me to do that because it was very new. It was only about 2-3 years old at that point. Not many people knew what the course was about. It was a very what do you say? It wasn't a very specific course. I wasn't doing an MBA. It was a master's in liberal arts kind of a course. But my parents trusted me. I trusted the mentors who told me that it's a good course, and I went there, and that opened up a lot of opportunities. Thinking to where there were many people working in the social sector, people who were civil service aspirants who quit, who came back to do their higher studies to get into another career. All of that happened, and it's there that I knew that civil services is something that I could seriously pursue. I would be lying if I say that it wasn't there as part of my early childhood, because from when I was growing up, when I was about 11 years old, and I mentioned this elsewhere as well, when the barber Anna asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, I still remember telling him that I want to become an IAS officer. So,
Wow.
and I met him last year after the results came, and he asked me,
Oh, so the
he said,
same person,
the
same.
same person who
Okay.
was my Baba when I was 11 years old came about 15 years later, and he asked me in a very joking manner, but with a certain sense of seriousness. He was like, "என்ன சார் கலெக்டர் ஆயாச்சா?" அப்படின்னு கேட்டாரு. I was like, என்னன்னு உங்களுக்கு எப்படி தெரியும் அப்படின்னு கேட்டேன். He said, இல்ல நீங்க சின்ன வயசுக்கு பார்பர் கடைக்கு வரும்போது அப்படிதான் சொல்லுவீங்க அப்படின்னு. நான் சொன்னேன், நான் இப்போ எனக்கு இன்டர்வியூ இருக்கு அடுத்த வாரம். நான் யூபிஎஸ்சி சிவில் சர்வீஸ்க்காக தான் டெல்லிக்கு இன்டர்வியூ போறேன்ட்டு அவர்கிட்ட சொன்னேன். பிகாஸ் இட் வாஸ் கோவிட் டைம். ஸோ ஐ ஹேட் டு ஆஸ்க் ஹிம் டு come home because we couldn't really step out at that point. So that's been the journey. So the kind of freedom that my parents gave and a certain kind of exposure, even the friends, the family friends that we had, their parents, and then also the kind of work that my mother has done. She's always been associated with some sort of social work or the other. So Chinna Vestinde, a lot of travel was always associated with knowing what a Balwadi is, some kind of fundraiser to build a school, just a lot of things around social service, around events, around administration was always there. And I thought, okay, why not give it a shot?
One more thing is you were working and studying for UPSC at the same time. So, how did you manage your time between work and studies and your personal commitments? So, was it all work and you didn't have time for play at all, or how did that go about?
Right. So there are two parts to this question. First, I had already worked before I came in for the civil services preparation. So I was working with NASCOM Foundation in the CSR space. So I was anyway, in some sense, in the development work. So understanding, CSR, working with different companies, seeing how that project is being managed, what are the different models in which we can deliver impact. So before I got a job, I actually worked with a IAS officer, former IAS officer, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan, who has been instrumental in many reforms, constitutional reforms in our country. And he was, in fact, member of what we call the Administrative Reforms Commission. So they had come out with a report in 2000. It was convened, I think, in 2005, and the report came about then. So they looked at every aspect of government and said, okay, these are the kinds of reforms that needs to be brought in the administration of the country. So you can imagine. So such a person who was member of such a national drafting committee would have spoken to so many stakeholders from field level officiary, like police constable to a tahsildar to secretaries to government of India, to that extent. So he had vast experience. So while I was working with him, I understood that public administration is a very interesting subject, and public policy is a lot more than just studying for an exam or thinking in a systems perspective. How can you solve a particular problem? How do you even engage with an issue as a citizen? These are things that we learned. We were about 10, 12 of us. Sir will call us in the morning. So about 11 o'clock, our routine was we had to go, we had to read the paper. We'll have to read the paper, and each one used to divide that paper, and we used to select idella important issues for that day. So that was the first time made me understand, okay, that there are themes in public policy and you can relate it to that. So after we're done with that, we'll go sit with sir for about 2-3 hours, and we could ask him anything. At that point, there were some constitutionally important events that were happening. Elections were happening. So we used to ask him questions about how are elections conducted, how are political parties formed, what is the role of a political party in a democracy, what is the role of the Election Commission of India, who handles all of these things. So we used to engage, what are the kinds of problems that will come, commission error, omission error, electoral roll or purification, so many things. So it was a good time. So he opened up my mind to not just think that the civil services is about this exam, it's about this exam, but it's a lot more. Now, answering your question directly, the second part, it was like every email I wrote, I used to think like, okay, I'm probably writing this as a mains answer. For my exam, you need writing practice. So every day I'm writing 15 to 20 mails. So if I think that, okay, either I have to go back home and do extra civil services preparation, that's going to take a lot of my time. But if I imagine this to, improve my language, improve my articulation, how do I put a thought into words in an email? Those things are important skills even for the civil services exam. So I kind of, convinced myself that this is also part of my preparation, and that whatever I'm going to be learning now is going to be part of my career also. So that is the part of just time management. And of course, it was not easy at all. It was hard, more emotionally than actually the time. But I think I had good support systems in terms of my family and friends. But before the exams, I used to take off. Play was certainly lesser because it was hard. But I think I was just enjoying this process. So when I was traveling in the car, coming back, I used to study. I did multiple shifts. So I sometimes had to do night shift because only then I would get time in the mornings. So I was handling US customers. So a little bit of adjustment from my side had to be there because only then I could get that time to study. It was not a typical 9 to 5 job. We used to have client calls anytime. So lot of every week I used to have a conversation with my mom, which was a weekly consolidation to say, okay, your work is going like this. How much you have to study? When will you do fitness? Yes, it was a lot of conversation and trial and error, which is not easy. And this is something that I would like to tell people who are working and who are looking at working and doing anything else. It could be a side startup, a passion project, or anything. If you think that that is your goal, it requires a certain level of personal sacrifice, but I think it's certainly possible.
And with the conversation that we've had now, I can clearly see your passion for public service, and anybody with that kind of passion for their profession is going to be more happier and more productive. But that being said, it was not an easy journey as well. And in this process, did you do anything to unwind yourself, maybe a relaxation technique or something? Because you told us even when you traveled in a cab, you had to study. So, did you do something to relax yourself? Because I'm sure it involves continuous learning. So, how did you go about it?
Right. So my relaxation was a little bit of meditation and yoga. So that was something that I almost very consistently did, especially during exams. That was something that I was very consistent with. I used to work out quite regularly, even while I was working, which is why I said it was constantly you had to keep yourself accountable. Otherwise, it's hard. So my mom will be like, "Why didn't you go to the gym today?" My mom is quite a tough taskmaster. So if you commit, then I'll have to do it. Otherwise, she'll be like, you've just paid to the gym. Why are you not going? So all of that, I was paying also. So it gave me that personal accountability also. Um, Sing, I used to sing a lot. Whenever I could, I used to go visit my guru. I used to sing. The beach is there in Chennai, so I had an unwind routine also. If to be very honest, even when I was writing my mains and all of that, every 2 3 days I used to just take a walk. There were certain nice quaint spaces. I used to go there. Sometimes I just used to go to a nice cafe by myself, order a nice meal, and just eat by myself. I think that's how I unwind.
All right. That's really nice to know that you have a routine to unwind, actually, which is necessary for everybody, and especially for someone who is into continuous learning. I think it's much necessary. And you were looking at always expanding your knowledge to gain new skills and expertise, right? And how do you think is continuous learning very significant for someone preparing for UPSC exam?
I think it's very important, but I might be coming from a place, based on my journey because I went and did something like the Young India Fellowship, which encourages you to be, very curious about multiple fields, about multiple interest areas. Because we did about 18 courses in 1 year, something from culture studies to media to sociology to environment to heritage conservation, business, English, Shakespeare. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
quite a wide range of subjects. So when I was exposed to something like that, I understood that the world, the sky is the limit. There's just so much to learn. And I believe it's important for people to be open to learning because it helps in the exam itself, because your exam is a general studies kind of a generalist exam. It doesn't ask you to be a technical expert in any particular field. So anything that you pick up on the way can be customized to a particular answer. Let's say you've learned something about civil society organizations. Like I said, when I worked with Dr. JP, I understood the process of elections. So when I thought about it, I had come up with some policy reform options probably, which we had worked there. I could use that in my exam. So I think it's always beneficial. There's no harm to continuous learnings in, especially with multiple fields. I think it's something that only enhances our personality.
Yeah, I think, and apart from your syllabus, you picked up all information from everywhere. Wherever you went, you picked up a lot of information. I guess that's what I get from your conversation. And that being said, what others or what generally people forget is the fact that success didn't come easy for you. So, what is one particular challenge that you faced in the process of becoming an IS?
I mean, the process was demanding because I don't have anybody. in my family, in my friend circle, nobody was part who's part of government, who's part of bureaucracy. So it was very new, which meant that I had to, and me in the sense my family had to learn many of these aspects. So some were through trial and error, and some was through mentorship.
Yeah.
But like in anything else, it required a certain level of commitment, which was putting us through a lot of mental stress because of the sheer uncertainty of the process. Because, like I said, none of my friends are into this space, so they were all working. So there was a certain, you're in that age, 24, 25, 26. I hadn't started studying when I was in college. So all my friends were already working. Many people start when they're studying in college. So there's a certain social expectation from you that, where are you working, what are you doing, and all of that. So which meant that I had to balance that, because this was something that I'd taken out of my own sheer interest. Nobody forced me to do it, and everybody else was only encouraged. So just to answer people's questions sometimes was a little exhausting, because everybody was so new to the process. What is this? What is this? What is this? So I think there was a high expectation suddenly, which I didn't realize then. But I think when I didn't get through in the first attempt, and that's when I felt the pressure. It was like, this is a lot of pressure, from teachers, from family, from everybody, and it was not easy. So that sure set of expectation. I think there was a personal expectation also to reach it. But there was a point when I realized that this is a personal journey, and that I have decided to take this exam. I am already working in a particular role, and I enjoy that role also. So let me do this with a certain sense of, I'm doing this because I want to do this with a sense of passion, but not being completely dependent about it.
Right,
So
right, right.
yes, it was hard, but yeah, I'm glad that I'm here today.
Yeah, and at the end, there was one day you succeeded, and your success per se was celebrated by many. A lot of wishes from the film fraternity. So, how did you react? How did your family react to your success?
I mean, like I said, so it was very new. So the experience was also new. So we were also just taking in the moment, because we didn't also know how to react. So of course everybody was overjoyed, and this, like I told you, was a very personal journey for my family, especially my mother, father, and my brother, and of course my close friends, because this is not something that, it's not like everybody is not part of it. It's not like a wedding or something where many people are involved in the process. So this is something that only four of us had to go through. So we were all very happy, certainly relieved, because that's what அடுத்த எக்ஸாம் எப்போ, இன்டர்வியூ எப்போ, வேலையிலேருந்து லீவ் எடுக்கணுமா, these are the kind of questions, and there are always some tensions that exist. So there was a relief, and we were of course very happy, and very kind and warm wishes from the industry. We didn't know that I was one of the first people within the film families and all that. It's only later that probably there are other people, and I don't know, but this was interesting at that point, and got very, very good wishes and blessings from a lot of veterans from the industry, well wishers, family, friends. So it was a good experience, and it continues to be a good experience even now. I think everyone's very encouraging. My dad will send me a message saying, this sent you this message and this warm wishes. If some article or something has come, they're still very encouraging. So they've been kind, so I'm very grateful for that.
Very nice. And one another question we really wanted to ask you was about geoinformatics. So, what made you select geoinformatics, which according to us is a unique program?
It goes back to the certain, the kind of intellectual freedom, or something that my parents gave, and that support that my parents have always given. So I was always interested in geography.
Okay.
So from seventh standard, I still remember, when I went to college, when I went to school, I had a new teacher. Her name, Aruna ma'am. So I got a 50 out of 50 in geography in the first semester of in the first term of 7th
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
I continued to top every term for the
Okay.
next 4 years till my board exam.
All right.
Okay, so I was one of the toppers of social science also in my school. So then
Okay.
I realized, okay, this is a subject that I really like and I'm good at it. It just came like, national parks, soils, maps, topography, and all of that. So even in school, I used to help around my, classmates before the exam and all of that. We used to have these map based questions. It's not very intuitive. You need a certain kind of spatial interest to say, okay, what is the distance between these two places? What are these icons on the map? So there's a legend. How do you read a topo sheet? What's the scale? So it's a certain kind of spatial interest that one needs to have. So I did this in school, and then I realized I like the subject so much, and I'm scoring well. Is there a possibility to take the subject in my 11th and 12th also? And
Okay.
I studied in an ICSE school, and the ICSE Council gives you the option to take geography as an elective subject along with science, even in 11th and 12th.
Okay.
So I did geography in 11th and 12th also. So I did science, physics, chemistry, mathematics, geography, English, and environment. So I did that. And then we were looking at courses which had undergraduation in something related to geography. But I was not very good with computer science at that time. But this was a information technology and geography based course about mapping, GIS, remote sensing, natural resource management, land management. So it was available in Anna University, and I got the seat luckily. So that is how I got into geoinformatics. Something that I've been always interested in. It was not something that I took by accident. It was something that I took by choice.
So your 50 on 50 got you into
Yeah, so it was
geoinformatics.
something as simple as 50 on 50. But now I'm liking it because when I'm in the district, when I'm in the field, I'm like, okay, I love, talking to the farmers, understanding how land works,
Yeah.
how is disasters managed. And geoinformatics is part of all of these things. That is important to know. So, in fact, I want to learn more about GIS. So, I've reached out to my seniors, to my professors. So, sometimes I get on calls with them. I'm like, sir, how do we do this? How do we do that? So, what I studied is now actually coming back to action in real time.
Okay. 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 I had very less idea about the program earlier, and now it seems to be interesting and nice to know that it, in a way, helped you for your civil service preparation or executing even now. And with the conversation we've had, I can I can conclude you're a people-centric person, and that's precisely what people expect from an officer. And when we talk about an IAS officer, you're going to be the first reach, right? There is a lot that you can change in the society. There could be a project that you have initiated. It might touch many lives. So, in those lines, what is the change that we can witness after you have settled in a new role as an assistant collector of Tuticorin?
Personally, I've been interested in certain specific areas, and of course, we have a job role that all of us need to work on with environment, education, women's empowerment in particular. Working of self-help groups is something that is very interesting now. So trying to get together something for livelihoods for women, giving them capacity building training. So that's something that we've already done. We
Okay.
worked on a water hyacinth project, so we've given water hyacinth is a water weed. So how can we make project? How can we make items craft and just handicraft items from weed is something that we started under the guidance of district collector. So most of the projects that we do is under the guidance of senior officers, of district collectors, of political representatives. So it's been interesting to just knit together, just meet all of these people and work with them. In Tuticorin, like I said, livelihoods is something that we are working on. We're also working on some heritage projects. We plan to do a heritage walk for
Okay.
school teachers, for Anganwadi teachers, because we have a perennial river here. We have Tamrabarni River here, so there's a lush, green, lot of trees, lot of rivers. So we're giving a lot of awareness to children about nature. About we're trying to do bird walks for them. We're trying to give them environmental education. And so far, I've also been engaged with the Anganwadi workers in a particular block where we've given college students a lot of awareness on nutrition, pregnant women, children. So we're doing a small CSR project where we're giving, there's a geographical indication target. There's Kovalpatti Kadla Mithai. So that, and there are also some local banana is very famous here. So we're giving the local community the understanding that local GI products is something that we can consume. There's milk, there's banana, all of these kind of things, which is important for child nutrition. So many aspects around child nutrition is something that we've been continuously talking to parents about, to college students about, to children. We're also coming up with an activity playbook, which is completely done by the Anganwadi workers itself. So these are some of the things that we are already working on. Of course, we have many things that we are in conversation with, and you'll get to know about them. It's a whole world of opportunities, and of course, we need to work on it with utmost sincerity and responsibility.
It was amazing to know that you are visualizing a better society at a very young age. And we've spoken about geoinformatics, a little about your experience in your startup company, and little about your corporate exposure, and an IAS officer now. So, which captivates you the most?
I think it all feeds into each other. Like now, I'm doing something very interesting. This is like a creative uh, aspect of the role. I probably after this have to step into something else. I'll still have conversations with my friends, um, but this is certainly very very fascinating because I think you get a mix of all of these worlds in this role as a bureaucrat, which I think is very interesting and exciting. But like I said, it all feeds into each other. Like the person who I am today is because of all of these collective experiences, and I enjoyed all of these things. So, and I continue to enjoy it. And there's a part of each of these things that come into work. For example, the technology experience that I've had continuously makes me think in terms of processes, in terms of sheets, in terms of frameworks, which is, that is the kind of, that's the way in which I would like to work. So that continuously comes.
Perfect, perfect. I think you have connected everything that you have done, and then you have said it in a nutshell. So perfectly said. And what is your message to young civil service aspirants? Is there anything specific that you would want to say? Because you are considered as a youth icon now. So, what is your message to them?
Okay, so thank you for saying, you know, I mean, that again gives me a certain set of responsibility, right? Like I said, I think my journey is I wouldn't say unique, but it is the culmination of a certain context that I come from and a certain journey that I have had. So I think for everybody, one needs to be aware of their own, strengths and weaknesses, and to some extent that the pull of why they want to be in the services is something that everybody needs to clarify to themselves. Uh, this is something that I always say. I think in a country like ours, public service is of multiple dimensions. Even a good startup entrepreneur who's giving job opportunities to many people is doing, there's a positive externality to society by giving so many people jobs. So they're again in a very very good position of responsibility. It's again adding towards nation building. Somebody who's working in a good, who's coming up in a working in a social enterprise, who's working in public policy, somebody who's writing a good academic thesis, who's doing a good PhD, is also contributing to society because it's that research which is going to feed back again into public policy. So I think one message would be broaden your horizon of what it means to be in the field of public service. There are think tanks now, so you can work in research now. So you can work as a research associate. There are political consulting groups now. So you can work, if you're interested in politics, in party politics, and all of that. There are a lot of opportunities where you can work on data, on all of that, on that. So it's a large, so you need to know why you want to be, where you want to be, and once you have these questions answered, then it kind of opens up your mind to other opportunities also. So it again reduces some pressure. If not this, then there's nothing else. Is not the scenario now. There are many ways in which you can engage. So this is one thing that I would certainly want to, just express to everybody, all youngsters. So the second thing is you need to understand the kind of time commitment that you're going to be giving for the preparation, especially if you're working, if you're already in school, in college, if you're going to give it full time. Then if you have a certain idea, and that's what I normally call as exit strategy from this. Are you going to be giving it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? If you have that in mind, you will always be on the lookout for some small opportunity or the other. You will realize that time is limited, which means I will have to maximize my productivity during that time. So you will become more efficient. If you think that you're going to give many attempts, then you won't know how time will go. So if you say, okay, first attempt itself, I'm going to clear. So I'm giving it my 100% now. If not, okay, I'm going to give it my second attempt. Your family, your own way of time management, everything is a little better aligned. Otherwise, a lot of years could go, and because this exam happens only once a year, these questions are not answered. If you're not having clarity on that, you'll just be part of that loop. So I think these two things are something that aspirants can keep in mind.
Thank you for that message that you have given for the aspirants. And now, next, a little about yourself. So, we want to know what kind of a student you were. Were you mischievous or a very goody goody student? And any one fond memory that you can share as a student?
I was pretty,
Naughty.
pretty naughty, pretty mischievous. I was quite the joker of the class. So a lot of laughter, a lot of joking around, and everything. That's how I was known. So I still remember in second standard, I was so naughty that I was actually tied to the window and all by my then teacher. So we used to have those blinds, and with that blind, my teacher tied me
Okay.
in second standard. And I think in every parent teacher meeting, my mother used to get this comment saying that he studies very well, but he's still very, naughty. So if he can just improve on that, he can do much better and all of that. So that was like standard remark on my report card. Can improve in certain areas, but a very good student otherwise. But I've always enjoyed studying. So
So, you had two different sides, I guess. So, academically, you were really good, and the other side, you were the naughtiest, I guess.
yeah,
Okay, wonderful to know. So, what does Shrutanjay love to do in his free time right now?
travel, listen to podcasts, sing,
Wow.
broadly
Okay.
these things.
And have you ever dreamt of taking up acting as a profession, considering the fact that you practice theater and music as well? Or maybe at least not as a profession, maybe you just wanted to give it a try?
I I don't think ever as a profession, not as a lifestyle, but even in the academy when we were there,
Oh,
we acted in a play. A couple of officers, we did a play, and I
okay.
acted after many years. We won that play competition, and there was a cash prize associated with also. So I was directed by another friend of mine. Absolutely enjoyed that process.
Okay.
So this is something, directing, acting is something that I always enjoy, and would love working with children now. With even
Perfect.
in this part in my free time, probably I would be engaging in theater as and when I can.
All right, perfect, perfect. It was a lovely conversation with you, sir. And okay, viewers, that's Mr. Srutanjay, multi-talented IAS officer for you. And we are very, very glad we did this. Thank you so much. But we have a final segment, which is going to be a rapid fire round. And for this part, we have a student representative. She is Srinidhi Aladi from final year BCom, Accounting and Finance. So I would like to welcome her.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. How are
Good
you?
afternoon. How are you? I'm good. Thank you.
I'm well as well. So, as ma'am said, that this is going to be a rapid fire round.
Okay.
Okay, we'll start, sir. Number one, who is your favorite actor?
I think over time I've started enjoying my father's acting, so I would say my father.
Very clever.
Which is your favorite movie of your father?
Kirakavasil with Karthik sir. So Kirakavasil is a good movie. Idayam and Kirakavasil, I think these are two very good
Okay.
movies.
Yeah, I remember the movie as well.
My mother has also spoken about that movie a lot.
Yeah.
Next question. Are you more of a shy and introverted person, or are you more of a social butterfly?
No, I like social engagements. I step out quite a lot, but I like laid back conversations. So if I have a one-on-one conversation with someone, that is something that I really enjoy. But it's not that I shy away from social community. But if I go out once or twice, I need a little bit of recharge. So I'll be at home for 2 3 days. So I can't do it very often.
I'm exactly the same, so I understand very well. Would you prefer an arranged marriage fixed by your parents or have a lovey dovey relationship that grows into a lovey dovey marriage?
For now, I'm in relationship with my service, so I'm not yet contemplating on that. But I'm hoping it will be somebody that I find.
Perfect.
Where is your favorite place to hang out besides Adyar?
Okay, that's a. Is Besanagar Thiruvanmiyur all counted as Adyar? If you don't, Besanagar would be.
Yeah, we'll go
Yeah,
with that.
yeah, it would be Besanagar.
Right. Who do you feel you are closer to, your father or your mother?
Mother. Mother. Yeah, but father is like a support figure. He's somebody that I look up to, that people look up to. But yeah,
Which subject were you the worst at school?
math I wasn't very good at school, but I was never bad. But yeah, math, little bit of science when I was in 11th and 12th. They were tough subjects. Physics was hard, but yeah.
That brings us to the end of the rapid fire, sir. Thank you for being such a good sport. It was really entertaining.
All the best to the entire team. It's a great initiative.
Okay, viewers, that brings us to the end of today's episode. We want to thank you all for tuning in today.
We were so excited to interview Mr. Srutanjay, and we have many more wonderful people lined up for future podcasts. So make sure to turn on your notifications for this channel, and as always, like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Catherine.
And Srinidhi for SMC Comcast,
Quest
Quest
and
and
Connect.
Connect.